What's up, ladies and gentlemen of the interweb? We've had some interesting developments these last couple of days, and I've been wanting to do this video since the start of the year. So today, we're talking about the future of PlayStation. I already made a video about it, and we've already talked about it, but PlayStation just canceled 2 live service games from Ben Studios and Bluepoint. Last year, PlayStation had the massive flop of Concord. This entire console generation, the PlayStation 5, has been plagued with the fact that it's not keeping up with the sales of the PlayStation 4, and even this far deep into the life cycle of the Nintendo Switch, it cannot touch the Switch sales. And none of this makes sense. How could the console that was absolutely dominating gaming last generation get to this point? And what does that have to do with the future of PlayStation? To answer this question and understand everything else, we have to go all the way back. I'm talking all the way back to yesteryear during the PlayStation 4. About a little bit right before halfway point. We don't know what happened for sure to get Sean Layden fired from PlayStation, but we know something happened and Jim Ryan was made the head of it all. If you know anything about PlayStation history, you know Jim Ryan never really did anything with gaming. He was never a developer, he was never anything relevant, he was just kind of a guy that was there. Like, let's say you're making like this beautiful brand new tablet, right? You're an engineer on it, you got these graphic designers doing, the art for it, and then you got a project manager here, and the project manager gets made CEO when the project manager did absolutely nothing. You would feel slighted as a dev, you would feel slighted as an artist. Well, that's basically what happened with Jim Ryan. No qualifications whatsoever to run PlayStation, but they fire Sean Layden and give him the role. Around this time, something major happens in gaming, and it's a pivotal moment that really honestly changes the course of gaming from here all the way up until about last year. And that event was the release of Fortnite Battle Royale. Fortnite Battle Royale came out and it changed the gaming landscape. It showed everyone that live service games are in fact, a money cow. At this point, up until now, everyone had been chasing loot boxes. They had been chasing crates, DLC, whatever the case might be. Everyone thought, okay, I need my own FIFA. I need my own Madden. So PlayStation, they started incorporating FIFA type techniques into their MLB The Show game. Xbox does something similar with other live service games that they have. Or I guess at that point it wouldn't have been called a live service, but we're talking Halo the Master Chief Collection. And then it doesn't end there. Apex Legends comes out, same thing. It blows up, so much money is being made off of it, so the whole industry starts looking around saying, wait a minute, is this the new, military shooter live service? Can we do this with whatever? And for the most part, for the next couple of months, well, I guess really closer to 2 years after that, that becomes true. Then here comes Avengers by Square Enix. Avengers by Square Enix kind of puts the final tooth in the nail, or I guess at this point, the first tooth in the nail for live service games. That game came out absolutely flopped. I loved that game. I thought I had the collector's edition out here, but I don't. It's in the back room and I don't feel like going to grab it. But there's the statue of Captain America right there that you get with the collector's edition as proof that I got it. I personally enjoyed that game, but that game was kind of iffy. Nobody really was interested in a live service Avenger game. And then starts the PlayStation 5 generation. We get multiple live service games started up and none of them really took off. The very first one that came out this current console generation was Godfall, and it was an instant flop. Then there was Babylon's Fall, instant flop. All of these Destiny expansions, instant flop. But before all that, here was Mr. Jim Ryan, who instructed every PlayStation studio to make a live service game. Over the next couple years leading up to today, we would see multiple live service games come out and do absolutely nothing from PlayStation. We would see them cancel. We would see studio closures because the live service games weren't panning out the way they wanted to. Most notably Concord and its studio. Even London Studios got kicked out, and they hadn't even done nothing wrong at that point. The biggest game PlayStation's made in the last 12 years is The Last of Us. The Last of Us is even getting a live service and they canceled it, and Naughty Dog went back to single player story games. God of War was getting a live service game and it's now been canceled. They're not going to be doing that anymore. We don't know what Ben Studio is doing. All I can guess is that maybe it was something related to Days Gone or Siphon Filter as a live service. We don't know for sure. But this leads us to this very moment. We're all PlayStation executive members. We're looking around. What is our future? What can we do to save this ship? And what do I personally think is going to happen, not just for the rest of this console generation, but until the end of this decade? We only got 5 years, not even that, really, until the decade is over. There's things PlayStation can do, but I mean, looking at it in my, I guess, semi-professional opinion as a 20 23-year veteran of PlayStation. I mean, I have an idea what the future might hold. The good, the bad, the ugly. Let's finally get into it. Now, overview looking at all this, it's not looking good, chaps. It's not looking good. The rest of the console generation, we don't really have anything for PlayStation. We have wasted 5-6 years, some cases even more, making these live service games, and there's just not enough time in this generation for these teams to turn it around and do something major with it. We might get Intergalactic launching this console generation, or it might end up being a PlayStation 6 launch title, which is what I'm of the opinion of. But it's not enough time for Ben Studio to do something. It's not enough time for Bluepoint to remake a game. They started off really strong with the Demon's Souls remake this generation, and then nothing else, but at least they had a game. We are going to go yet another console generation with Ben Studio not having a game. They had two or three actually on PlayStation 2, nothing on the PlayStation 3, and then PlayStation 4 got Days Gone, and then this generation, nothing. And it looks like we're not even going to get a Days Gone remastered from them. So who knows if they're going to shut down that studio or not. As much as I hate to say it, I think Ben Studio getting shut down is a very high likelihood before this console generation is out. As far as game output goes, I mean, this year we got Ghost of Yotai, and then I'm sure we have another surprise up their sleeve, but we are not looking at any of these games that are going to be as cataclysmic as the last couple years of the PlayStation 4 was. The last couple years that had Ghost of Tsushima, Spider-Man, God of War Ragnarok, Death Stranding, just to name a few. But there's nothing of that caliber planned for this generation, and it's just too late to do anything about it. So I definitely see the rest of the PlayStation 5 generation struggling as far as console sales go and struggling as far as game sales go. Shuhei Yoshida is now on record saying he was surprised that Horizon Forbidden West did not do the numbers that it wanted to. We know after its first year it had sold about 8.5 million units. However, at that point in time, it was the only game on the PlayStation 5. There was nothing else if you wanted to play anything. It was just that. So that made a major difference in its sales in comparison to the Horizon Zero Dawn. However, those sales did not keep up. They basically fell off a cliff. And because of the quality of games that have came out, and I'm not saying they're bad at all, they're just not what PlayStation 4 was. These games are not selling console units. When was the last time you heard somebody said, I bought this PlayStation 5 to go play XYZ game? You've not heard that happen this console generation. Meanwhile, the Nintendo Switch is over here re-releasing games that we have played at this point on 16 different consoles, and it is still selling consoles like crazy. Literally, I mean, you could guesstimate that we are only weeks away from the Nintendo Switch 2 at this point, and they are still selling like crazy. I don't see the rest of this console generation going very well for PlayStation, and that is something I hate to say. But I think the things that Jim Ryan set up for the PlayStation 5 just instantly flopped. And I feel like anybody, literally anybody, could have looked at what his plans was and said, that's not a good idea. We shouldn't do that. But nobody did. And now we're at where we're at. But what about PlayStation for the rest of the decade period, not just for the PlayStation 5? I do think a lot of these studios are going to regroup. If Ben Studio survives, I really think they're going to get that Days Gone 2 greenlit, which I hope they do because that game left on a cliffhanger. Bluepoint said that they don't want to do any more ports or remakes. They want their own IP. So there's a good chance they might be getting their own IP, or they might be able to just pick something from PlayStation catalog and do something with that. I do not see PlayStation buying any more studios. I actually see them closing studios that they currently have. I do not think Bungie's going to make it to the end of the decade. I genuinely do not. Destiny has died. Their live service game was canceled. Their other live service game was canceled. And oh my god, a third live service game from them was canceled. And we're going to probably get a fourth one canceled. And that's not even before Marathon comes out. This is just, it's a mess with Bungie. Apple got rid of them because they couldn't do anything with them. Microsoft got rid of them because they couldn't do anything with them. Activision got rid of them because they couldn't do anything with them. And now PlayStation's here holding the bag because they fell for the hype. I know Bungie has made games in the past that some people would consider some of the greatest games of all time, and that other people would consider just another blip in the industry, just another, I guess, fad, like Halo, for example. Halo 1 and 2 was giant. 3 was pretty big too, but after that, they just kind of fell off. It didn't really have a long-lasting impact on the industry. Same thing with Destiny. I mean, Destiny 2 lit the world on fire, but that was only for like a year and a half, and then nothing really since then, basically radio silence. I think Intergalactic's gonna come out. I think it's gonna review really good. I think it's gonna sell really good, but I think it's gonna be polarizing. I think it's gonna split the user base even more than it already is after The Last of Us Part 2. I genuinely do think Intergalactic's gonna come out and it's just gonna be this whirlwind of backlash from one half of the gaming sector, and the other half is gonna enjoy it, and it's just gonna be a mess there. And then that game's gonna like basically break the reputation of Neil Druckmann. You're gonna get all these woke accusations and all this naughty sense, but a bunch of stuff's gonna come out with that, and it's just gonna be like, why is this even happening right now? And then I think Sony's gonna have one last Hail Mary when it comes to purchasing a studio before the end of this console generation, and I genuinely think it's gonna be Square Enix. I think Square Enix is gonna become a PlayStation property. They've already got, all this exclusivity contract. Square Enix is not making no money. They are not doing that hot right now because, like we talked about earlier, they're one of those people who keep pushing, live service games, and it's not working out very well for them. So I 100,000% see them getting bought up by PlayStation. And assuming the PlayStation 6 launches in 2028, my camera died, but that's okay, we're back. As I was saying, assuming the PlayStation 6 comes out at the end of 2027, which is when current estimates are for it, how is that gonna look the last 3 years of this decade for PlayStation? I mean, Xbox is dead in the water. There's going to be no competition there. So all the Xbox players will definitely be migrating over to PlayStation at that point. So console sale wise, it'll probably be about the same as the PlayStation 5, if not a little bit less. But now with the Nintendo Switch 2 coming in, and apparently, from what we know based off leaks and rumors and everything, there's going to be a PlayStation handheld like the Portal, maybe even the Portal 2, come out with the PlayStation 6 or around the same time. You're going to be able to download PlayStation 4 and potentially 5 games and stream PlayStation 6 games. How is that going to deal with the PlayStation 6 versus the Nintendo Switch? Now that's the interesting question. That's a $1,000 question, because will that be something that can actually compete with the Switch, or is it just going to be dead in the water? I unfortunately think it will end up being a dud. I'm going to buy it. I'm going to buy it no matter what, because I'm a PlayStation fanboy and I love PlayStation. They can do no wrong in my eyes. But I don't see it competing with the Switch 2. I genuinely do not. And I understand that this video could be coming off a little bit critical of things that are out of our control, but I just don't understand what PlayStation could do to turn this decade and this generation around. Yeah, they're going to beat the Xbox. They're not going to beat the Switch 2, not at all. But this is not the PlayStation we've grown used to. This is not the PlayStation that we have been fans of since we were children anymore. And genuinely, I think this is going to go down in history as a lost decade for PlayStation, a lost generation for PlayStation. We have never had this before. Even the PlayStation Vita, with all its issues, it was still a legendary generation with games that some people still to this day will go back to and play. I mean, if you're a fan of Mystic Ryan, every year almost he does that going back playing PlayStation Vita online video, and there's still people going back playing it quite regularly. To this day, if I go get my Vita right there and I pop in Call of Duty Black Ops Declassified, I'm getting in a game instantly. I mean, we just saw Freedom Wars get remastered, and people were so hyped about that too. That's a game that was trapped on the Vita that's now into the new world, and it's just great still. But I don't see any game from the PlayStation 5 generation doing that. I mean, Horizon came out, wasn't the best. God of War Ragnarok came out. It was a good game. It was a phenomenal game even, but it's not a game you're going to want to go back to. Spider-Man 2 came out. I enjoyed it, but I've not played it again since it came out. Miles Morales, I've beat like 10 times. Spider-Man 2, I think I've beat at this point, God, at least 11 or 12 times, because when it first came out, I beat it like 4 times back to back. It was a great game. Stellar Blade was a great game, but I didn't finish it, so I can't say it's one of those games either. And then basically insert any first-party PlayStation game this console generation, you can say the same thing for great game, no interest in going back to it. And it's not just first-party PlayStation, it's third-party as well. For whatever reason, all these third-party games are just, I feel a need to go back to them. They're not, games that'll be talked about 10 years from now. You could make the argument for Astrobot, but I don't see PlayStation capitalizing on it. I see PlayStation saying, yep, Astrobot was a great game, and then never doing anything with it ever again. Or if they do, it's just going to be a platformer again, which obviously that's what we want it to be, but it's not going to be the love and quality that we get from Astrobot right now. So to put it frank, as of right now, I am very concerned with the future of PlayStation, especially this generation and this console decade really. It's a mess. It's a mess. I might do another one of these videos for hopeful sides of it, but as of right now, I'm very concerned for the future of PlayStation. And honestly, I don't see them doing anything to turn that ship around. But what are you? Are you worried about the future of PlayStation? Let me know in the comments down below. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, try not to die, and I'll see you in the next video.